Hi, I'm William Wyatt, and this is my testimony. I, William Wyatt of Salem, coaster, testify and say that last Monday evening, being the 5th day of March current, I was in Boston, down at Treats Wharf where my vessel was lying, and hearing the bells ring, supposed there was a fire in town, whereupon I hastened up to the townhouse and to the side of it. I saw an officer of the army lead out of the guardhouse there 7 or 8 soldiers of the army, and lead them down in seeming haste to the custom house on the north side of King Street, where I followed him. And when the officer had got there with his men, he bid them face about. I stood just below them on the left wing, and the said officer ordered his men to load, which they did accordingly, with the utmost dispatch. Then they remained about 6 minutes, with their firelocks rested and bayonets fixed, but not yet standing in exact order. I observed a considerable number of young lads here and there, a man amongst them, in the middle of the street facing the soldiers, but not within 10 or 12 feet distance from them. I observed some of them had sticks in their hands, laughing, shouting, huzzing, and crying fire, but could not observe any of them threw anything at the soldiers or threatened any of them. Then the said officer retired from before the soldiers, and stepping behind them towards the right wing, bid the soldiers fire. They not firing, he presently bid them again, fire. Yet they not firing, he stamped and said, "Fire! Be the consequences what it will." Then the second man on the left wing fired off his gun. Then, after a very short pause, they fired another, one after another, as quick as possible. Beginning on the right wing, the last man's gun on the left wing flashed in the pan. Then he primed it again, and the people being withdrawn from before the soldiers, most of them further down the street, he turned his gun toward them and fired upon them. Immediately after the principal firing, I saw 3 people fall down the street. Presently after the last gun was fired off, the said officer who had commanded the soldiers to fire sprung before them, and waving his sword or stick said, "Ye rascals, what did you fire for?" and struck up the gun of one of the soldiers who was loading again, whereupon they seemed confounded and fired no more. I then went up behind them to the right wing, where one of the people was lying, to see whether he was dead, where there were 4 or 5 people about him, one of them saying he was dead. And I remember as the said officer was going down with the soldiers towards the custom house, a gentleman spoke to him and said, "Captain Preston, for God's sake, keep your men in order, and mind what you are about, and further I say not."